Welcome to today's Soul Course, brought to you by GaiaWisdomSchool.org. Good morning. So I thought I would spend this morning with you, my coffee time, if I can actually get my coffee and hold it. And I wanted to share a little bit of this fall with you and this autumn, and to talk about this time of year, how the veil is very thin right now between the worlds, between our physical world and the world that reaches beyond here, that spiritual place. And this is an excellent time to be working with our ancestors. And I wanted to talk a little bit about our ancestors and what that looks like, because when I say ancestors, a lot of times people think about the bloodline, the lineage, which is true. That is, the most prominent ancestors that we'll be working with. But ancestors also include land ancestors. So where you live, the environment that you're in, at some point, many points, there were multiple thousands of people who have walked the earth where you are right now. And so you work with the land ancestors to, your land may need to be cleared. You may need to have, the energy kind of balanced out. And so you want to be aware of your surroundings and what actually happened on the land that you're in. Sometimes there's violence and things that happen that are not, everything that, let me backtrack a little bit here. Everything that happens has a vibration, and that vibration basically imprints itself on the land and items. Everything is made up of energy. So if you have, let's say, violence or a war or something like that that has happened, oftentimes that imprint will stay in that area until somebody has gone in to change the imprint. Now, you can't get rid of the imprint, but you can write over it. You can lay on top of it a new imprint, a new clearing, a new whatever it is that you want. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to suck down my coffee really quick, because we're going to go on a walk in the woods. It looks really beautiful. So you create a new imprint on the property or the room or the house or wherever it is that you are. There was a time I lived in Arizona where I lived in an apartment building, and it was by far the scariest time of my life when it came to energy. And so much so that it was one of those times where I really thought about, I don't know that I can do this kind of work. I don't know if I can be in an energetic field feeling this, because there were things going on, and I'm not going to go into the whole story of it, but things that went on that I, to this day, don't ever want to experience again. And it was because prior, many years prior, when it was still just fields, there was a man who hung his son and then killed himself on that land. And we found that out because we did some research and, went through some archives and newspapers and things like that. So that energy produced a really horrible set of events that happened on that land ever since then. And so I actually had, at the time I was working with a medicine man. He was a Hopi. And I had him come in and help me clear this space. And actually he cleared it, because there was, at that point, I don't feel like there was anything that I could have done to fix that, because it was way too strong. So anyway, once he cleared it, the energy in that space was much different, much better. And that kind of set into motion for me to be really aware, painfully aware of the space where I live, and to, you know, get in touch with the energy that's here. You know, this property that we're on right now, at one point, it was mostly the Creek and the Cherokee Indian who lived here. And when we do retreats, those energies come out full force, and they actually help me to facilitate that space to create some deep healing for people. And, you know, one of the first experiences that I had with that was when we had first moved here, and we were doing a retreat. It was our very first retreat. We didn't even have any trails or anything set up. And so I do what, when I send people out into nature to do an exercise, I always call them back with a drum. I just, you know, stand on the deck and beat the drum, and they all know to come back. So on this first retreat, these two guys had gone way out into the woods in this one particular spot. They were in the same area, but they didn't know that each other was there. And they came back about 15 minutes after I'd already sent them out. I said, "What are you doing? Why are you back here so soon?" And they said, "Well, you drummed." I said, "I didn't drum." I said, "Yeah, we heard the drum." And they conferred with each other. "Did you hear the drum?" "I heard the drum." "Did you hear the drum?" "I heard the drum." And so at first I thought, well, that's just kind of strange. Maybe it's just an anomaly. But then every retreat since then, people who go out into the woods, they experience the drums. They experience Native American flutes and voices. And, you know, at this point, I don't even try to drum people back. I just do a bell, because I can't compete with it. And I don't want to. But it's an incredible energy to work with, and I'm very fortunate to have that here. And I think, you know, for Amber and I, it's about creating that space that's sacred, that allows for those energies to come forward, because we understand it and we feel it and we appreciate it and we honor it. So, wherever you live, if you can do a little bit of history, a little bit of research to find out what, who, all of those kind of answers into where you are, and then go out into your environment and just really feel it. You know, be in the space, and you can even go to a certain place at different times of the day, and you can really feel what that energy really feels like, and take that time to notice not only the feeling of the environment, but, you know, how does it make you feel on the inside? How does it shift your awareness? How does it make you want to respond? And so as you go through this, you'll start to find places in the land. If you can go to different places, different spots, and if you're in like an apartment and you don't have a lot of nature around you, you know, go to the different rooms and feel what each room feels like. Now, when you do that, you want to decide if it's your energy or if it's somebody else's. So keep that in mind. And then if you feel like your land needs to be cleared, or the energy needs to be shifted, then you can certainly do things that will cleanse that. You know, if it's not a really large property, you can go around to, you know, go clockwise around your land with sage and smudge it with the intention. You always want to have an intention when you're cleansing. So it's not that you're, you know, you want your intention to be pure, and you want it to be honorable. And so you're not going to go in there and say, I want to get rid of every energy that's ever been here, but you want to transform the energy to be more conducive to the light or to spirit. And in that way, you are honoring both the light and the dark, because we have a lot to learn from the dark side, which we call the shadow side. And then if you want to, you can go to the 4 quadrants of your land, and you can dig down about a foot, and you can place a crystal, a quartz crystal, to help anchor that light energy. And I suggest doing either the 4 corners of your property or the 4 directions, if you can figure out where north, south, east, west is. You can use a compass to do that. And when you do this type of cleansing, it kind of resets the space and gives it a just a cleaner bill of health, I guess would be a good way to say it. And then, periodically, I always kind of suggest, like during the seasons, like during those shift of seasons between summer and fall, fall and winter, winter and spring, spring and summer, those are liminal times. Those are times when it's like you're crossing over a threshold, and that's a great time to cleanse. It's also a great time to cleanse yourself, even if you're doing like a detox or, something. The shift of seasons brings a lot of energy with it. Right now we are in the fall, and everything is, we're right in the middle of the autumn, or the alchemist soul archetype. So we're not really close to either side of it, but there's that feeling, that imminent feeling of winter coming. We're getting ready for winter by stocking up on firewood and doing what we need to do to get ready for that season to come in. But that energy of transformation is very powerful. So if you are north of the hemisphere right now, capitalize on that energy and really take advantage of this opportunity to transform and to shift whatever is not serving you any longer. So we talked about land ancestors. The other ancestor is a tribe or a tradition. So a lot of times people are drawn to a certain ethnic group or an indigenous tribe, whether it's the Australian Aborigines or Native Americans or the Druids. There's just Egyptian. I feel like I'm being followed. I probably am by a deer. Anyway, you want to, whatever kind of tribe that you feel drawn to are probably, is probably a tribe of people who you have either shared lives with, or you have some kind of lineage within them. You have, in some way, their path has crossed yours at some point in the evolution of your soul. And so you can go into a journey or a meditation, and you can connect with that energy, with that tribe, with that tradition. And you can garner the wisdom that they have to provide you with just more ways of implementing those practices or beliefs or values into your life. And often, and I think that, okay, let me backtrack here. Let's go back to the land ancestors for a second. Where we live right now, there's not just Native Americans who have been here. There are countless other people or tribes or whatever who have inhabited this land. But because I have an affinity towards Native American and really resonate with that path, that's the tribe that has made themselves known here at this time. So you'll see remnants of it wherever you go. Oh, here comes Buddha. I knew you were coming. Uh-oh, what happened to your... Uh-oh, something happened to her bandana. So you will have that, they will show up different ways, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so you want to honor that. And then of course the last, and it was the first and it's also the last, your bloodline, your ancestors. And these are the people who you share their DNA. And that is a powerful place to work, to do healing of your ancestor line, to heal family karma, to repattern things that have happened in your lineage. And you know, there's lots of ways to do that kind of work. And you can also tap into Stephen Farmer. He's got a great book called Healing Ancestral Karma. And in there, he's got a lot of exercises that you can do. But I highly suggest, you know, at least doing some kind of meditation or some kind of journey where you can go back and find, you know, the ancestors who you resonate with. Your ancestor, your lineage will usually have a guardian that they send to you. And this is a spirit who kind of acts as a kind of like a liaison between you and the rest of your line. And so you work closely with them, and in doing that, you can start to heal and mend those fractures that happen in families. You know, there's a lot of baggage that comes with families, and not just the ones who are living, but the ones who have passed on also. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity about the 3 different ancestors that you can work with. And again, this time of year is so powerful to be doing this work. And you know, we're getting ready to celebrate Samhain at the time that I'm recording this anyway. And Samhain is the Celtic holiday where the veil is the thinnest and where we really do that deep work with our ancestors. And it goes from October 31st through November 2nd. And it's just a beautiful time of death and rebirth, and really to dive into that ancestral work. So it is an absolutely stunning day, and I don't know that it's going to translate in video at all, but this is my favorite time of the year, where everything is just booming with color. And that's kind of symbolic, how everything booms with color just before it dies. So anyway, you guys have a great week. Have fun clearing your land wherever you might live, and connecting with your ancestors and getting some of that deep wisdom from the traditions of the tribes that you're akin to. All right, I'll see you guys next week.